since November 7th. I'm a research volunteer for the Dallas Jewish Archives at the Jewish Community Center. Please tell me your name.
My name is Bill Waldman.
And we're going to do an interview today on Dallas Chapter AZA number 135. Why was AZA organized? Why was 135 organized?
Well, at the time, there were other AZA chapters over the United States. And we decided here in Dallas to organize one because there were a number of young people that were very active in the B'nai B'rith, whose parents were in the B'nai B'rith at the time. And they felt like that since AZA was a junior order of the B'nai B'rith, that we ought to go ahead and organize one. And so a bunch of young fellows got together and organized it. I'm trying to think of who came here from the National Association of AZA to install the chapter. I should remember it at the moment. I can't think of it, but it might come back to me after a while in an interview.
If I give you a name, maybe it might help you. When I saw a membership card from AZA 135 1930, it was signed by Phil Klutznick and Sam Bieber.
Sam Bieber and Phil Klutznick.
Okay.
Yes.
How was AZA number 135 formed? How did you and your friends go about doing it?
Well, there was just a group that were interested. Myself.
If you want, go ahead and give me the charter members' names. Who?
The charter members?
Yeah, that's
that'll be
my next question too. So go ahead.
Well, a group of fellows got together. Dr. Joe Rothschild, Dr. Sal Katz, Oscar and Hyman Ute, myself. Let me think just a moment. Can you cut that off for a minute? Easter Weil, Johnny Smith, Melvin Yannick. You want to stop it again, huh? Joe Bach. Cut it off. Isaac Goldstein, Eli Coble, Izzy Heckman, Isaac Sobel. Cut it off.
Go ahead.
Manny Reichman, who was an attorney in Dallas at the time and very active in the B'nai B'rith, he was our first sponsor.
Was he the father of one of the boys, or just
No.
As on a volunteer basis?
No, in fact, I don't think Manny Reichman was married at that time even. And I think he remained a bachelor until he was killed by his next-door neighbor because he was a Jew, and the next-door neighbor didn't like him and killed him, and I don't think they ever prosecuted him. He was killed, Manny Reichman's probably killed about 40 years ago.
Mr. Waldman, what was the year that you decided to organize it? Do you remember that?
I think around between 29 and 30.
Okay. Was there at that time a minimum age or an age group for AZA in the country?
I think it's 16.
Okay. 16.
I believe it was age 16 that was the minimum age.
Okay. Can you tell me, do you possibly remember, there was a charter that each one of you put your signatures on when you were chartered, which would have been a year after you organized.
Yes.
Where it might be, who might have it?
I have no idea where it might be, honey.
Okay.
Of course, you understand there are a number of the charter members have passed away.
Oh, yes.
I'm trying to think who you might ask me. Probably who was the first president. You'll get into that after a while. Probably, I don't know.
Yes, I will. How old were you when you got into AZA?
I was 16 or 17 years old.
Okay, can you pinpoint a year? Was it 29 and 30?
It was in 30.
Okay.
Because I was one of the original. I was a charter member.
Okay, and what years did you stay in AZA? From when to when?
Till about 21, I believe.
31?
Till I was about 21.
Oh, till you were 21,
yes.
Which would have been 30...
Well, 5 years. Then I was in it 5 years, from from age
34?
16 to age 16 to age 21.
So 1934, you would have been 21.
Yes, right.
Okay, so basic from 1929 to 1934.
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me why? Why did you decide AZA and not something else?
Well, I don't know. I don't know whether there were very many organizations I could join. The Young Judeans, I guess, was an organization at the time, but I never joined Young Judeans, and I suppose that I joined, but I joined because some of the other fellows like me weren't active in Young Judean, and they wanted to join a Jewish organization.
Okay, can you?
Yeah.
What was it like being Jewish and being in Dallas in the 1930s?
Well, in the 1930s, it was just at the time of the stock market crash, and that we had with the two members of the Hillel at University of Texas.
Correction, Mr. Waldman was 18, not 16, when he got into AZA 130. Correction, Mr. Waldman was 18, not 16, when he got into AZA 135. Mr. Waldman, can you tell me, understanding that the times were difficult, what your social activities were before you got into AZA?
Well, you're asking me my social activities. We're very active in the Congregation Sheriff Israel. Many of us were active in Congregation Sheriff Israel. As a matter of fact, in 1931 or 32, Dr. Saul Katz and myself represented the Dallas AZA in a debate that we had with the two members of the Hillel at University of Texas. The two students in Hillel at University of Texas was Gerald Goranzik and and a fellow by the name of Glassman. And the subject of the debate was resolved that the Jewish people should abandon their political aspirations in Palestine. Dr. Saul Katz and I had the affirmative, and the University of Texas Hillel had the negative. We had a debate at the Jewish Community Center, and it was before a packed house, because at that time that was a very important feeling in the Jews in the diaspora to try to make up their mind whether we should hope to have a political state in what you would call a cul-de-sac in the Middle East. Later on, I represented, a few years later, I represented the Jewish community on an Armistice Day program where I spoke on the subject of the Jew as a patriot. At that time, on the program was the Attorney General of the state of Texas. I think it is.
When you joined AZA, what was the money factor? In other words, did you pay dues? If so, what were they?
Oh, sure, we paid dues. They were negligible. I would guess the dues, if I can remember, was something like $3 or $5 a year.
Did part of that go to national, or did it all stay here in Dallas?
I think part of it went to national, just a part of it. Of course, we had money-raising events. We had dances. We had hobo dances, and I have pictures at home of all of the group that attended the hobo dance. We took pictures, and I can bring those to you too.
Okay. What do you remember specifically from those years? Or what did you get out of it?
Well, we were able to socialize with each other, not only do things that were important for our Jewish life, to maintain a Jewish heritage that we had here, but also we did a lot of things that got our young people together on social events.
Okay. Do you feel that from these years and the friendships that you formed, the men that you joined AZA with, this bond of AZA, did it help you keep their friendships and keep you continuing your work in the community?
Oh, I don't think there's any question about it. Some of the members were just interested naturally in the social aspect of AZA, and wasn't too interested in the Jewish background that AZA was made available to us. It's just like any other organization. Some of them felt that appreciated the organization and tried to do the things that would make the non-Jewish community proud of them. And they did things activities in the non-Jewish community.
Other than AZA, and you also mentioned Sheriff Israel that you were very active in, did you belong to any other Jewish organizations at the same time?
Oh, there was a social Jewish organization called the FHH. That was an organization that was established in Dallas in 1916 by a small group of fellas, but it was strictly a social organization. I'm trying to think. Of course, B'nai B'rith. We all joined B'nai B'rith when we got older, and most of us were members of Sheriff Israel, because the temple naturally in those days, who had 95% of the membership was a German Jew, and they weren't so anxious to get into a Jewish organization.
What about Tifereth? You had members from Tifereth?
Oh, Tifereth Israel. I don't think Isaac Goldstein was a member of Tifereth Israel, as well as I can remember, and probably Isaac Sobel. But most of them were members of Sheriff Israel.
Okay. What offices did you hold? Can you tell me?
Oh, I was the second president of AZA. I think Joe Rothschild was the first president, and I think I was the second vice president. I think Dr. Sal Katz was the third vice president, and I think the Ute brothers were president.
Can you give me years with these? Or the year that you were president? Or was it a year, or was it?
I think the year that I was president was probably 1931 or 32. And Joe Rothschild was president. Dr. Joe Rothschild was president, I think, in 30, when we organized and got our charter.
Okay. What can you remember about the structure of AZA starting from the lowest level. You had a chapter level. Was there a district or region?
Oh, sure, we had a district, we had a region. I can't remember much about it, honey.
Did you ever
But
hear, would it have been Texoma?
What?
That's okay.
Excuse me.
Would it have been the start of Texoma region?
I wouldn't remember.
Okay. On the national level, did you have a national president?
Yes. I don't remember who it was. I remember Bieber and Klutznick very well.
I know who Sam Bieber was. Can you tell me a little bit about Phil Klutznick?
Oh, honey, I don't remember. I know Phil was an outstanding man. Both of them were outstanding men as far as our country was. They were very well thought of by not only Jews but also non-Jews in the United States.
Okay.
I think Phil Klutznick became a rather wealthy man at one time, if my memory serves me correctly.
All I know is I had seen his signature on membership cards, and I was told that he was a national director, but I thought maybe somebody could elaborate on that, because they were not real clear on that.
Okay, I don't remember.
Okay. After AZA, where did you go? What organization?
Well, like I say, B'nai B'rith,
Which
the
chapter?
Sheriff Israel Brotherhood of B'nai B'rith, George A. Levy. George A. Levy chapter was the only chapter then. And yet, like I say, I belong to the FHH, the social organization.
Can you tell
And
me
then
what
they
FHH stands for?
Well, I don't think anyone remembers. Many people have asked what FHA stands for, and some people say, jokingly, I think, a number of years back, that they thought it meant 15 happy hooligans. And then someone says there was 15 happy Hebrews. But no one, I think, ever really. Originally, I'm sure they knew what it was, but it seemed like they had forgotten, and all we knew that was FHH.
Okay. You also said AOTA.
AOTA grew out of the AZA. The AOTA stood for Alumni of Dallas AZA. AOTA. You probably knew that, didn't you?
No, I didn't
Well,
know that.
if the AOTA is alumni of Dallas AZA, that's where we got the AOTA name.
That's very interesting. That
When we got older, we organized AOTA, and the organization went on for a number of years. And in fact, Aaron Spelling was a member of the AOTA, and he inaugurated a bunch of plays way back there where the AOTA had different plays for the Jewish community. And Aaron was sort of a director. Aaron Spelling was the director.
Like
that
he
time.
is today.
Yeah.
You mentioned memorabilia. You have.
Yes, I have a lot of stuff
Okay.
that I can bring to you.
Okay, all right.
Now, I was captain of the AZA basketball. AZA had a very fine basketball team, and I can give you the members of that basketball team. I was the captain of the team, and later was a coach of the AOTA basketball team, and we had a softball team that I played on, and I can give you the names of those people.
That's
But
right.
I have write-ups, newspaper write-ups about our activities that I can turn over to you.
Okay, there's one article that I have. I don't have it in the house. I have it at the archives about a smoker night. It was written by Henry Clepack, who had organized it. Did you have these very often?
Smokers? I remember something about smokers, honey.
What about degrees? I saw a degree team on a program.
Oh yes, I got a picture of that degree team.
Can you
I can
explain
show it
what
to
that
you.
is?
That was a degree team with reference to Judas Maccabeus, as well as I can remember. And we put that on a different location. I know we went to Oklahoma City to the chapter and put that degree team on, put that show on. And we went to several other places, and we were quite well known when we put on these plays. It it had something about the apostate Jew, and but I have a picture that I can give you to show you the members of that, who the members were.
Okay, so you traveled around with this play.
Yeah,
What
to a few
specific-
places.
Was it just a play, or what
It
would
was
the
a play.
degree stand for?
Degree, well, I think it was called the Judas Maccabeus degree. And I don't know how it originated. I'm sure it originated out of the National Organization of AZA, but my memory fails me.
Okay, is there anything further that you might want to elaborate about AZA, about what it was like in those days? Anything you can think of?
Well, I do feel like that it was an outstanding. The Dallas AZA was outstanding. I think that we had some members who were very dedicated, and that were proud of being members of the AZA, and we did a lot of good. Really did a lot of good things. That's about all I can tell you.
Thank you.